Okay, so number 6 is going to be dividing polynomials by certain factor pieces. So it says find the missing factor in the item above using polynomial long division. So I know this looks like a lot, guys, but this is a product of these two pieces right here. So it's almost like if I said 2 times 3 would equal 6, the missing piece here is x. So what you're really looking at is something that looks like this. 6 is equal to 2x. And all you would do from algebra 1 to solve for x is to divide both sides by 2. And you'd get x is equal to 3. Now I know that's basic and fundamental, but that's all you're doing with polynomial long division. Okay, so going back all the way to 3rd grade, this is the process that you would do for long division with polynomials. Okay, so let's look at this. It's going to be dividing, this entire polynomial is dividing by 2x minus 3. So the approach should be, if I have two terms here, and this is listed 3, 2, 1, and then the constant, always in descending order, we will start at 2 terms right here. So you ask yourself right now, what would multiply, let me use a different color, what would multiply with this first term to get this first term? Okay, so something times 2x would give me 6x cubed, and that's 3x squared. Because if I multiplied it, I'd get 6x cubed, okay, and then I'd be subtracting, because you got to multiply it to the negative 3 as well, minus 9x squared. Now here is where a lot of people make a mistake. I am not just subtracting one number, I'm subtracting this entire piece. That means this negative is going to distribute to this positive 6, and this negative distributes to this negative 9. Okay, so 6 minus 6 would give me 0x cubed. But this piece right here is where a lot of people mess up. They take a negative 19 and they subtract 19 rather than seeing that you're subtracting a negative. So you should be really adding 9x squared. Okay, so it's like negative 19x squared plus this 9x squared results in negative 10x squared. Just like in 3rd grade, we bring down the next term. And now we're going to ask ourselves the next question. Let me erase this 0x cubed because it's not needed. I just showed you what the 6 and negative 6 would add up to. Now, our second term will multiply with this first term of 2x to get the new first term of negative 10x squared. So negative 5x will multiply to get negative 10x squared. Remember, you're trying to match them up. And then you distribute to the negative 3 to get a positive 15x. Okay? Again, this is the step that a lot of people mess up on, so I'm going to slow down just a little bit on this. You are subtracting the entire parenthetic piece. Okay? So here we go. Let me highlight. 2 negatives make a positive. So it's like this negative 10 is going to add with this positive 10x squared to get 0. I'm not going to write that down this time. Okay. So then the next numbers that I'm looking at are a positive 23 will negative distributed with a positive subtract 15. So it's like positive 23x, and then this negative times this positive gives us a negative 15x. So if you subtract that, you would get 8x. And then last but not least, bring down the last term. So, last question. What here will multiply with my 2x to get this new first term of 8x? So this will be a positive 4. Okay? So we get 8x, positive 4 distribute now with the negative 3, would give us a negative 12. And this one does not have a remainder because we're subtracting the parenthetic piece. So it's 8 minus 8 to get 0 there for x. And then negative 12 minus this negative 12. Again, there's the piece where a lot of people make that mistake. It's distributing this negative here with this negative 12 to really be adding. So it's negative 12 plus that 12 which is an additive cancellation to 0. So there's no remainder. So the answer would be the missing factor is this factor here of 3x squared plus 5 or minus 5x plus 4. So just like we did with that basic level problem as far as what is the factoring really doing, your answer would be 2x minus 3, and then your missing would be this entire piece here, 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. And yes, of course, if you were to redistribute all, like FOIL this out, if you will, to all the terms, and then combine like terms and simplify, you should get this answer right here. Now, this is a lot of work for long division, and a lot of people think that it's difficult. And in my opinion, I think they think it's difficult because of those mistakes that a lot of people make with distributing that negative. However, there is an easier way to do this that's called synthetic division. So this is synthetic division because you are dividing. Okay, so this is incorrect on the key. We are trying to divide this by doing synthetic division. Now it's the same approach as what we did here. The only difference is it's a faster shortcut way to do it, and you can only do it when you are dividing by x plus a number or x minus a number. Okay, so notice this right here all by itself can be interpreted as a linear function. Okay, and the linear function coefficient, that means the number in front of x has to be a positive 1. Okay, so that's the caveat, or that's the rule when using synthetic division, is that this number in front of x has to be a positive 1, and that it's linear. It's not like positive 1x squared. Okay, it's not x squared minus 2. It can't be that. It has to be a linear function, and the coefficient has to be a positive 1. Now this is the step. These are the steps that you do to get the answer. And all you're doing is dividing just like we did here, but you're doing a shortcut route to do it. You put your terms in descending order. So x cubed, x squared, x, and then your constant. Okay, the constant meaning it doesn't have an x attached. And then all you're going to write are your coefficients. Notice the 3 is written here, negative 1, negative 17, and then 14. Now, a question that commonly comes up is, what if you didn't have an x term or an x squared, or you were missing a term? Let's say we were missing like this negative 17. It wasn't there. Well, the only thing that you would do is you would put a 0 there and then just continue to solve it just like normal. So you still have to account for it, but if you don't see it there, just put a 0. Okay? So let me make it come back. Okay. So these are the steps. If we're dividing by x minus 2, we don't put the binomial factor there. We're going to put the x-intercept there. Okay? And again, the x-intercept from previous videos, the x-intercept is, what would that x value be if I set it equal to 0? So setting it equal to 0, we would find that x is equal to a positive 2. Otherwise, aka the opposite of what you saw in the factored form. And here are the steps. We're going to copy this down, and then we're going to multiply our 2 and 3 to get 6, and we're going to write that right here. So we just multiplied. Next, we're going to add to get a 5, and now we're going to multiply again. This time we're going to do 2 and 5, and we're going to write the answer there to get 10. We add these, we get negative 7. Finally, multiply this 2 and negative 7 to get negative 14, and ding, ding, ding. For it to be factorable with no remainder, okay, just like we want clean dividing happening, with no remainder, we would get something that looks like this. So our goal is, remember, to get this to 0, because then it was cleanly divided, okay? Like if I said 24 divided by 4, you would say 6. But if I said 24 divided by 5, there's going to be 4 with the remainder of 4, which is 4 4/5. Okay? So we don't want any of these remainders. We just want clean factors that we're going to write as our answer here. Now, let me highlight it in blue. This answer that we were looking for is in fact right here. Now let's recall that the way I set up this was x cubed, x squared, x and the constant. Well, after you've done the division, the constant switches over. It shifts, everything shifts over to the left one. So now this is our constant, this is our x term, and this is our x squared term. So we would have 3x squared, because it's a positive 3 that you got here, plus a 5x, because it was a positive 5, and then minus 7. Okay? And this would be our missing piece here that we would have for our answer. That yet again, if we were to redistribute it with this x squared, okay, we should get our original left side of this equation. All of this is what we should get if we were to FOIL or to distribute all of this out. Okay, so what is our answer? Our answer ended up becoming this missing polynomial that was to the degree of 2 that we got. And depressed means that it was just reduced. So it used to be x cubed, and because of the division that happened, became x squared. Okay.